Well, good morning, y'all, and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm glad you stopped by to visit and have a cup of tea or a glass of iced tea or whatever sounds good. There's coffee, but we'll have to go out in the sunroom to the Keurig to get that because tea takes precedence here. Hope y'all are having a good day. I'm having a good day. I feel good, and I'm going to make something that's new to me, and I hope that we all like it. I'm going to make a tomato bread pudding, and it sounds absolutely amazing. It has the things in it that I like. I'm gonna bring you close. I've got to cut up a loaf of French bread and make it into cubes and toast it till it's golden brown. I'm gonna toss it with a little olive oil, and I have some garlic flavored olive oil. You know how I like garlic too. I'm gonna put that on it and get my breadcrumbs, bread cubes toasted, and then we're gonna toast or roast some tomatoes, garlic, and onion. And I'm gonna turn the camera where you can see I've already prepped it just to redeem the time to show you the tomatoes, and I'm gonna get them in the oven. And then when I come back to assemble everything, I'll bring the camera close and let you watch. This is just one loaf of French bread that I got in the deli, and I've already cut a lot of it up, and I'm cutting each one of them in half and then in 3 pieces and cutting it in like 1-inch little cubes. I'm going to toss it with about 6 tablespoons of olive oil, and this is when you can add some herbs if you want to. I'm going to add a little bit of basil to it and let the cubes toast really well. Not burnt, but toasted. And then we'll finish the process. But I was just going to show y'all. I'm cutting each one of them in thirds, like this. I don't know what I said, but this is what I'm doing. And then I'm cutting each one of these in 3. This one, smaller on this end, so maybe just in half there. You just want about 1-inch cubes, so whatever you have to do to get that. And I'll bring y'all back for the next step. I'm going to get my toasting done, and then we'll do what comes next. And now that I've got my olive oil sprinkled on it, I'm going to just sprinkle it with some Italian herbs, because that'll have a little of everything in it that goes good with tomato. And then I'll toss it and let these breadcrumbs toast. And then I'll put a little bit more on it. Okay, I'm going to put them in a 400-degree oven and let them toast. Okay, I got my bread all toasted. It's good and brown. Boy, it smells wonderful. So let me get everything together. I've got to roast the tomatoes, and I'll bring y'all along and show you what's going on. Okay, I've got my tomatoes, and I did probably 6 big Roma tomatoes, and I've quartered them. And I've got 1 Vidalia onion. You can use whatever you want. And I've got 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. And I've tossed it in some olive oil. Now I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of Italian seasoning on it, and just let that do with it in the oven. And I'm going to sprinkle some onion powder and garlic powder on them. I want them to have a lot of seasoning. And I'm just going to kind of toss that. Try to keep it at home in its own little area over here. I don't know why, but that's what I'm doing. Toss the tomatoes a little bit. Some seasoning on everything. Now I am going to put a little bit of salt and pepper. I've had something similar to this, but I've never, I guess the name is what makes it different, calling it a tomato bread pudding. But it's okay to have a savory bread dish. I think I'm going to enjoy it. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of pink Himalayan salt over my roasting pan here. I'm going to get this into a 400-degree oven and get it roasted. And I'll bring y'all back and we will finish putting this together. Okay, my tomatoes have roasted, my onions and garlic. And I'm fixing to bring y'all over to the booze block and show you how we put this wonderful dish together. Okay, I have panned my pan, my 9x13, and I've got 8 to 10 cups of toasted French bread squares in there that I showed y'all what I did to that. Now I need to whip up 8 eggs with my whisk here, and then I'm going to add 2 cups of milk and 1 cup of whipping cream, and into that I have added a tablespoon of oregano, about a half teaspoon of salt, and a few cranks of black pepper. Now I'm fixing to add that milk mixture into the eggs. Now when you see the recipe, it's going to say that you need a cup of mozzarella, a cup of fontina, and a half a cup of Parmesan. But I'm using the Italian style blend, and it has all of those in it. It has mozzarella, provolone, romana, Parmesan, fontina, and Asiago. So I'm using that instead of each of the separate ones to give it the flavor. So had I had fresh oregano, I would have used 2 tablespoons of fresh, but I used a tablespoon of the dried. And I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of fresh basil that I went out and picked and chopped. And I'm going to add my cheeses to this. Mix them up. This is a first cousin to tomato pie, I would think. Okay, now I'm going to get the recipe and tell you what it says that we're supposed to do. I'm supposed to put the breadcrumbs in the bowl, and I'm going to whisk the eggs, the milk, and the cream together, and I'm going to put salt and pepper in it and stir in the cheeses, basil, and oregano. Then I'm going to pour it over my bread mixture and try to let that soak a little bit. Then I'm going to put the tomatoes and onions and press them down in there at random, so that when you dish it up you'll get some of the tomato. So let's get our egg mixture poured over the breadcrumbs, or bread squares, whatever you want to call them. You want some of that cheese all over it, so you have to work with it a little bit because it wants to settle down in there. Now I'm going to get me a spatula. And I'm going to kind of move this around a little bit because I want it all down in there, not just on the top. All down among my bread pieces. Okay, now we're going to take our pan with our tomatoes and onions on it. And I'm just going to take these onions and I'm just going to sprinkle them around. Tomato skin. And the tomatoes, I'm just going to put them around on here. And they've been seasoned well. I seasoned my tomatoes. I put onion and garlic and salt and pepper and Italian seasoning on them. And I even did some garlic cloves in with the onion, so it's going to be very flavorful. And you want to just kind of press that down where the tomatoes will be pretty well dispersed. That needs to get down in that juice some. Put that little piece of garlic in there. We don't want to miss out on anything that's yummy. Just because I can, I'm going to add a little bit of onion and garlic powder to the top. Sprinkle it on. That's why it's important to always watch the video, because I don't always go right by that recipe card that's at the end. That's just a guideline for y'all. So if you just skip over and get the recipe card and it don't turn out really good, you might go back and watch the video and see what happened. I'm going to get this into a 350-degree oven until it's brown and done, and I'll bring y'all back and we'll check it out. Looks pretty to me. I love tomatoes, and I can smell the garlic, and that makes anything good except your breath. Okay, here's the Savory bread pudding, tomato bread pudding or tomato cobbler, whatever you want to call it. It's very hot. Just came out of the oven, so I'm going to let it cool, and then I'll dish some up and taste it and let y'all know what it's all about. Okay, y'all, I've dished up some of the tomato cobbler or bread pudding, whichever. And I put a little bit of Mexican crema on the top and a few green onion blades. And let me just tell you, this is absolutely delicious. And what I will do next time is I'll brown me some ground meat with some bell peppers and onions in it, and I will have that mixed in with the meat. And you talk about a meal. Just a minute, let me get the camera back and I will talk to you about it. Because the bread was cut into cubes and toasted really crisp. I mean, it was like biscotti almost. It was dry. It's not soggy. Yes, it soaked up the egg and milk mixture, but it's not mushy. It's like a firm bread pudding with a little crunch to it. And if it had some ground beef mixed in with that, and then all that cheese and stuff on it, ho, ho, ho. So the next one I make will definitely have the seasoned ground beef in it. But this is very, very good. So I'm going to taste of it. I got a little bitty bite with the crema, but let's see what it tastes like. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's like seasoned bread. It's, I can see this with like pinto beans. I don't know. Y'all are just going to have to try this one. It is very different and it's very good. And yes, this is the first time I've made it. And yes, I will make it again. But I will add the ground beef next time. So it'll be a complete meal in one. I love trying new stuff and I love it when it's good. Besides that, it's got red in it. It has to be pretty and good. I hope y'all are trying the recipes. I hope something appeals to you and you're doing something different and something new. And we're going to be having a few more goodies for the holidays coming up. And when I say goodies, I mean finger foods or sweets or candy or some of that kind of stuff. So y'all just be ready to write you down some good recipes and try something new. Get your little book out and add something else to it. Plan your menus every week, or plan that one night a week that you're going to have supper. Invite your kids over, invite your honey over, whatever. Have time around the supper table and make good memories. Good Lord bless y'all. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.